right, howdy Twitch, howdy YouTube, how are we doing, how are we feeling? Welcome to the show. Jimmy Moreland here for you with Veteran Audio. I am a voice actor, audiobook narrator, and music producer, and we are excited to be on the stream with you today. Head over to twitch.tv or YouTube, wherever you're watching this. You're good to go right where you are because I do have chat up. I can monitor chat and respond, answer any questions you may have about the biz or gear. I love talking about microphones and interfaces and this and that, about your room treatment. I'm in this big, beautiful treated room that I built with my own two hands. And I'm also happy to talk about software and stuff. We'll get into that in just a moment here. But what we're going to be doing today is what we do every day. We are on 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time every Monday through Friday. And we do auditions on this channel, live auditions. This is real actual auditions that if we get booked, we get paid. And we have booked many jobs based on the auditions that we do right here live on the stream. So this is the real deal. This is a peek into the life of what it's like to do professional voiceover work as well as audiobook stuff. So let's take a look at what we're going to be seeing today. Over here on the left, we have Pro Tools. Pro Tools, by no means do you need to use Pro Tools to do voiceover work. In fact, I do not recommend it. Pro Tools is definitely overkill. It can do a lot of stuff that you probably don't need it to do if you're looking into doing voiceover or audiobook work. But I do music as well, and so Pro Tools was my way in on the audio editing side. There are a lot of other cheaper and even free options out there that are perfectly good enough for doing the kind of work that we're going to be doing here today. Over here on the right, this is the important stuff. The big voiceover pay-to-play casting websites. Voices.com, voice123.com. We're going to be looking at all of the auditions that are available to us today. We'll be doing some of them and we'll be passing on a lot of them. And then we'll also look at ACX, that is the Audiobook Creation Exchange that is offered by Audible, which is owned by Amazon. So everything sort of flows through there. And I believe we'll be having some good auditions to look at today. So let's shut up and get to it. Over here on voices.com, I can see right now we've got a phone IVR. That's your sort of on hold, like, thank you for calling so-and-so. Let's take a look here. Requires bilingual in French talent. That's not us. So we're just going to pass on it. I do live in Maine, and there are a lot of bilingual French people up here. But that ain't us. Let's hear. Intro into podcast, The Business Bayou. Louisiana's construction industry. I'm curious if they want someone with a bit of a Louisiana accent. Now, we've got a reference video. Love to see that. Love when clients include a reference video. Let's take a look.
This is getting good. I believe you, you crazy little tart.
Toby Marshall versus Dino Brewster. That's a deep rivalry right there. Yeah. I hear you, honey. I hear you.
Okay. Any more and we might get a copyright strike. So, interesting. All right. We might jump into this. Let's take a look. We're only a 90% match. Interesting. Podcasting, I think that's a new category. I do podcasting, at least hosting and producing a corporate podcast is a pretty good chunk of my my annual income. I sort of offer as a service for hire, like it's sort of a consulting role, but basically corporations out there who are like, well, everyone else has a podcast. I think that my company needs a podcast. I can make that happen. Basically, completely turnkey. I will host it. All you need to do is supply me with a person to be my co-host who can be the expert. I am the lay person who asks all the questions. You supply me with a company employee who can be the expert who can answer the questions, and that's basically it. It's a really fun thing for me to do. But interesting that that's a category now on voices.com. I think that's somewhat new, but let's take a look here. Let's just read this, and we're gonna give this as much grit and gravel as we feel comfortable doing here. I don't have I'm not going to try to do a Louisiana accent. I'm going to do my, Southeast Texas accent, which is close enough. but that's what we feel comfortable doing. All right, here we go. Exciting news. Exciting news. Introducing the Business Bayou podcast. Hey, y'all, we are thrilled to announce the launch of the Business Bayou, your favorite podcast straight from the heart of South Louisiana. Founded by Austin Bryce, a sales executive in the commercial and industrial sectors, the Business Bayou is your all-access pass to the latest buzz in the Bayou. Whether you're a business pro, a curious listener, or just in need of a good laugh, we've got something for you. Expect a unique blend. Good laugh, we've got something for you. Expect a unique blend of industry insights, local news, and a whole lot of Southern charm. We promise to keep things fun and lighthearted with our Who Invited the Construction Worker vibe that you won't find anywhere else. Why tune in? Stay updated with everything happening in the South, get expert insights into the commercial and industrial sectors, enjoy our humorous, down-to-earth style. Let's give them that list a little bit more logically here that you won't find anywhere else. Why tune in? Stay updated with everything happening in the South, get expert insights into the commercial and industrial sectors, and enjoy our humorous, down-to-earth style. Where to listen? Linktree on all social media platforms. All right. Some people might be really nervous about giving away the store, basically reading that entire promo front to back, because in theory, they could just steal it and do what they will. But I have found that to be, I don't really worry about that. As we edit here, you'll notice that I am zooming on this edit and not even listening to what we did. I did what's called punch and roll recording, which basically means I'm editing as I record. So I know that is good to go. Business Bayou. Here we go. Bounce that out. That delay that came in there is because I've got my RX plugin here. Bring it up here. This guy right here. RX Mouth D-Click is, I'll have to not just bypass, but turn it off here. RX Mouth D-Click is an absolutely essential tool. If you're going to be doing voiceover work and particularly audiobook work, consider that as important a tool for you to have as a microphone or an interface or your DAW, your software that you're working in. Having that plug-in in your software is absolutely essential. It removes basically all of the mouth clicks, all of that, the smacky smack noises, the annoying and gross sounds. It deletes almost all of them. It's not perfect. No tool is absolutely perfect, but it is damn near perfect, and it's good enough. It's going to eliminate all those nasty little sounds that you would spend hours and hours and hours trying to edit out by hand. So it's absolutely something worth doing. But I bring it up because when I turn that on, that requires a lot of processing power for it to. It's basically listening ahead and analyzing as it goes and sort of eliminating those clicks. But it requires a lot of processing power, and it needs time to think and do all that. So when I turn it on when I'm live talking, it creates that little bit of delay. So I try to not leave it on for too long while I'm actually doing stuff here. What do we got here? Software company corporate video. We've got a relatively low budget here, 35 people in line in front of us. Talent will be provided further direction and updated timeline. We've got a reference video. Love that. It says right there, this is confidential and not the final video. We'll respect their desire to keep that confidential. You know, we're putting a lot of information out here by doing this live stream. I have not been asked to stop by either voices.com and Voice123. In fact, specifically, the people at Voice123 have said, like, keep doing what you're doing. It looks great. So that's really cool to hear from them. They had a couple of very, very simple and easy to implement, shall we say, requests that we have been able to implement, and everybody's been happy since. But we're going to pass on this one. It's a low budget. We've already got quite a few people in line ahead of us, so we're going to pass on that one. Moving on to the next one here. Short infomercial style video voiceover. Here we go. Looking for a vintage 1960s or 70s infomercial sounding voice. Brenda Lee. Pre-order the best of Brenda Lee. I am a huge Brenda Lee fan. Brenda Lee was a very, very young country music talent from the, I thought, like 40s or 50s even. If you don't know Brenda Lee, you know her voice because she sings Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, as well as many, many other big hits. But when she sang Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, how old was she? Let's see here. We're going on a journey here. I want to know how old she was when she did Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. Child performer, national exposure, biggest successes. Anyway, yeah, late 50s, it looks like. But yeah, huge success. Like, look how young. Huge mega success. She was just the biggest star. So this is cool. Hell yeah. We're going to read this right now. Pre-order the best of Brenda Lee now. Stereo Records. Pre-order the best. Now they're wanting a vintage sound. So, interesting. I'm curious. This seems, well, they're listing a website. So this isn't going to be something that's sort of playing in the background of, a show. This isn't sort of a natural sound sort of that's going to be in the background, which from the brief, I actually might expect that to be like, oh, like someone's listening to the radio in the background and here's this ad. But because they're listing a website, obviously that's not what this is. This actually is going to be an advertisement for the catalog that is available at BrendaLee.com. So, interesting here. Pre-order the best of Brenda Lee now. Stereo records, compact discs, and cassette tapes available on www.BrendaLee.com. We're going to give them another read. We're going to put on a little bit of Southern charm here. Pre-order the best of Brenda Lee now. Stereo records, compact discs, and cassette tapes available on www.BrendaLee.com. All right, putting on my radio voice there, going back to my roots there. But I think that's fine, and I'll mention that, like, so when you submit your audition, now I can't help but keep the accent on a little bit there. When you submit your audition, you have the opportunity to put a little note to the client. Let's do this real quick here. We're just going to call this Brenda Lee. And when you submit that little note, that's your opportunity to make yourself either just seem like a general professional, huge Brenda Lee fan. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to give them my life story or anything. I generally like to put something about just broadly speaking, my experience. Would love to be involved. I do put in this little bit that I'm a military veteran because sometimes if two voices come in that are basically equivalent and good enough, that are castable, and everything else, our quotes are the same, everything's the same, but if the person doing the casting, if they're a veteran or if they've got family that has been in the military, that might be just a little bit of edge that helps us. And you know what? Every little bit helps. Why not? You've got something in your background for sure that can give you that kind of edge. So if you're a parent, like maybe putting like, hey, like when I'm not wrestling my crazy 3 kids or whatever, this is what I do. Like, things like that can endear you to potential clients and make you they can make you stand out in a good way. Having these clients know that you're a real human and that you've got a whole life, and you bring the richness of that life into what you do behind the microphone, and to have that sort of speak through to whatever the client is wanting you to speak. that's worthwhile. Whatever you've got going on. Let's see here. Is this American Red Cross? I have no luck with these American Red Cross things, man. They just don't like me. We're gonna pass. There's already too many people in line, and we're only a 90% voice match on that. Let's see. Workplace safety and inclusivity. Let's take a look here. Artists of all ages and genders, welcome to apply. So with these, you gotta have some awareness about who you are and who a client might actually be looking for. On these websites, they're not able to say there's no there's voice age, so they can discriminate. And I use discriminate not in the pejorative sense, but in the sense of like sorting, just sorting. They can sort you out by age. They can sort people by accent with some limitations. They can sort by gender, but something that they cannot sort by, and for better or for worse, is like racial background. And I can see why they haven't chosen to do that. It would be very useful in some cases, but I can absolutely see ways that could go very, very wrong. And so I understand their decision not to have that as an option, to be able to choose, for example, an African American, or a Korean American, or what have you. I understand them not having that option because things could go poorly very quickly. But you got to be aware as you're going through and looking on auditions. You got to look for, I don't want to say code words. Sometimes they'll come right out and say, like, we need an authentically Asian American talent for this. Great. That lets me know, as someone who is not that lets me know that I just skip this audition and move on to the next one. As a white guy, I need to be sort of a little bit aware and like, am I the right voice for reading this line here? It's time we create a culture where every voice is heard, diversity is celebrated, and every individual feels secure. Like, sure, and I do personally feel that way, but is my voice the right voice to be carrying that message? And so you got to keep that in mind and understand that not every job is for you. And so I understand that this job is not for me. I agree with the sentiment. I would love to, lend a hand in getting this sort of sentiment out there, but I'm not the right person to take this job away from someone who might be a better fit. So understand that, and if you're inclined to get upset about the real world and the way that this is working, then maybe this isn't for you. Broadly speaking, maybe voiceover isn't for you. If you can't understand how creative decisions are made and how, culture informs these things, then yeah, maybe this isn't the right industry for you. So we're moving on. Let's look at the next one. I recognize the client based on their naming convention here, and I know that their projects just don't seem to fit with me. We've got an audiobook showing up on Voice123. We'll look at that in a second. I have a feeling we'll be able to get our audiobook rate calculator out and perhaps do a little bit of a rant. We'll see, though. Okay, we've got 27 responses. It's a pretty low budget, $100. One thing you have to remember on voices.com is that Voices takes 20% off the top of anything you book. So if we were to book this $100 job and you think, boy, $100 just for talking for 4 minutes? Well, keep in mind that depending on what you're reading, that's actually not a very good rate, depending on what you're reading. If this is e-learning, then that's kind of fine. But if this is an ad, this says online ad, but it's probably more like e-learning. Yeah, this is definitely e-learning. But yeah, keep in mind that that's actually $80 that you would put in your pocket, and then you got to pay taxes on that. So we're going to pass on this. Just no thanks. Next up, we've got the definitive CBT toolkit for kids and teens to fight anxiety, depression, and trauma. This is an audio book. It's over 3 hours, and that's your budget. Oh, boy. Okay. We're going to bring out the calculator. Here we are. And we're coming over to here. Here's the calculator. Oh my God, Windows, stop. Windows just gets so excited. Like, surely you want to dock this window, right? Okay, here is our audiobook PFH, that is per finished hour calculator. This is how we sort of determine how much would we actually be earning for the time that we're spending on a project. So total words is the first thing that we put in here, and we've got the word count here, 33,084, 33084. So project length is going to be 3 hours, 33 minutes, approximately. And that lines up with the estimate that they've got here. That's a pretty close estimate. Budget. So let's assume the maximum. They've put a bucket here of $100 to $249. So let's assume the maximum of $249. But remember, we're on voices.com, so you got to give up 20%. So this $200 that we just had in here from the last time we did something is actually still accurate. $200 is the actual budget. That's what you would put in your pocket. Now, before you get dollar signs in your eyes thinking like, well, $200 for just 3.5 hours, that's better than anything I could earn, because that PFH, that per finished hour rate, is $56 per finished hour. Oh my God, like where in my part of the country could I earn $56 per hour? Wait. You're not earning $56 per hour of your labor. That's $56 per hour of finished audio that you deliver to the client. And it's not a one-to-one thing. There is a ratio, and it ain't one-to-one. For really experienced narrators, I would start to put myself in that category, I'm at about 2.5 to 1. But for newer narrators, and if you're considering a project like this, you are definitely a newer narrator, the number that I've heard is really good to use for newer narrators is between 6 and 10 to 1 as far as hours of your labor required to generate a finished hour of audio. So let's pick the middle of that range. Let's say 8 to 1. And yes, that does mean, call this 3 hours, that does mean it's going to take about 24 to 30 hours of labor to create this audiobook. When you back out that math, that means you're earning $7 an hour. $7 an hour. That's below minimum wage in just about everywhere in the country. And that's definitely below a living wage. There is nowhere, show me the place that you can make a living, pay for rent, utilities, phone bill, internet. You got to have internet to do this job, and groceries. Show me where in the country you can do that. And I'll show you a place where I don't want to live. I live in a relatively, I'd say, median cost of living area. I'm in mid-coast Maine, so I'm not quite in the big city as it were, of Portland, but I'm in a touristy kind of area, and so like my cost of living is higher than someone else who lives in as small a town as I do. But $7 an hour, that ain't gonna cut it for me. You gotta remember as well, ain't nobody else paying your taxes. You're a small business. You're paying your own taxes. So I'm going to estimate 18%. So you're making $5.80 after taxes. So that is disgusting. That is just horrible. This is offensive. This client, whoever they are, I'm sorry. Like, I won't say your name out loud. All I've got is the first name and the last initial, but this is atrocious. This is maybe the worst rate for an audiobook that I've ever seen on voices.com. We're going to flag this. We're going to report this job. Contains content that should not be, well, let's do incorrect. Let's see here. At maximum budget, this works out to 56 per finished hour. This is less than minimum wage. This garbage belongs on Upwork, Fiverr, not voices.com. That really is how I feel. Yeah. If you have just an Voices.com and Voice123 are the pay-to-play websites. They are the biggest websites for voiceover work. We as talent pay annual fees, big annual fees, to gain access to the auditions that show up here. And on Voices.com, I'm also paying 20% of every job I book on here. So that should get me something. And that something that it should get me is a minimum bar for the kinds of clients, the kinds of jobs that I see. And this ain't it. This does not clear the bar. Over on ACX, there's a category for this. Project budget, $50 to $100 PFH. It's the lowest price bucket, and there's a reason. There's also a reason I don't have it checked, because that is garbage. Even the next bucket up is garbage. That's not a living wage. This absolutely does not belong on Voices.com. This belongs on Upwork or Fiverr, where people are welcome to race to the bottom, and clients end up unhappy because they get garbage work, because the kind of people who are out there doing work for $50 per finished hour, I'm sorry, you're not a professional. There's no way. Like, I'll compare my work to yours. Let's do it. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Get this garbage out of here. Oh, that's just... All right, end of rant. We've done it. Oh my God, Soulful Paws and Whiskers. We're going to get back to work. Oh my God, do we have another audiobook for the same budget? All right, and it's the same. All right, this person, they're clearly brand new. We're reporting this one as well. I'm going to give them like a little bit different message. Seriously, what are we paying for this? There we go. Yeah, this is just like, I'm sorry. Like, I hope this client doesn't feel like maybe it's just a matter of client education. Maybe this person just doesn't know what a fair market rate should be for audiobooks. Maybe they have no idea what goes into it. Maybe they think, oh, it's all just AI voices nowadays. Like, yeah, maybe it's just ignorance, and that's fine. But hopefully, them seeing their job get dinged with a report, hopefully that encourages them to educate themselves a little bit, because this ain't happening. This isn't working. The most charitable explanation is ignorance, because otherwise they're out here trying to take advantage of people. 5 responses on this. I want to meet that talent. I want to meet the people who are paying hundreds of dollars per year to be a part of Voices.com and who are giving away 20% of anything they book. I want to meet those 5 people who look at this, 32,000 words, who look at this and go like, yeah, that's worth my time. Days. You'll be spending days to work on this. Days of labor for at maximum $200? Fuck out of here. Get out of here with that. My God. Okay, let's take a look here. Record introduction clips. This one here, this looks like a decent job, decent budget. We're only a 90% voice match, and there's already 64 people in line ahead of us, so we're going to pass on that, and it seems likely that we're going to pass on everything else. These are a bunch of jobs that, kudos to these people out here, these hard-working casting directors, working hard on a Sunday, and posting these things. Actually, some of these are even older than that. These all came through during the weekend, so kudos to these people working hard during the weekend, but that wasn't me. I had a very busy weekend outside of doing voiceover work. But we're probably going to pass on all of these because there are enough people in line ahead of us that it's very unlikely that the client will ever hear our audition. But we're going to double check some of these to make sure. This one actually, for some reason, only 33 responses and still a good budget here. So maybe let's do it. And I'm going to read it cold because when you cold read, you have the opportunity to be surprised. And fun things can happen when you are surprised by the script. And you only have the one chance. You can only cold read it once. So let's do it. Providence has been pleased to give us this one connected country to one united people. A people descended from the same ancestors, speaking the same language, professing the same religion, attached to the same principles of government. Very similar in their manners and customs, and who, by their joint counsels, arms, and efforts, fighting side by side throughout a long and bloody war, have nobly established their general liberty and independence. There's definitely a couple spots there that I could have read better, but we're going to submit that as is. One take, Charlie. We're going to be good with that. We're going to go history of socialism 22. Because they put a 22 on there, so maybe it's important to them. Reply. Turn this off. A directed session. Okay, whatever you say. 390 is the quote. Select the file. There we go. For this, on voices.com, if they don't have a single number budget, they have buckets, is what I call them, ranges, and I've got a standardized way that I respond to ranges. Basically, I look at the top of the range, I jump down to the previous 100, and I put a 90 at the end of that. So if the range ends in 499, then 390 is my standard quote. So it's that thing with, the difference between $1.99 isn't just 1 penny. It's the psychology of 99 cents, that's nothing. And the same thing happens when you're working with big numbers to include hundreds and thousands and beyond. So $4.99 is in the range of their budget. And so if I said 400, the difference between $3.90 and 400, it's only a difference of $8 in my pocket. Remember, we are dealing with 80% is what we'll actually earn because of the platform fee right here. So the difference between 400 and 390 to me is only $8. But the difference in the psychology of that quote, as far as to the client, is worth more than $8. So that's why I quote that way. Likewise, for a budget that is like the $100 to $250 range, I quote 190 on those things. Unless I have a strong reason to quote it some other way, or if you're talking about the really, really big budgets, like the budgets that end in 5,000, I might tailor my quote a little bit based on vibes or something like that. But otherwise, that's sort of my standard. And the more you can standardize things to where you're not spending time deliberating over every little thing, especially on voices.com. Speed is the name of the game on voices.com. You got to be fast because getting your auditions in early means you're more likely to be listened to. If you're not heard, you can't get hired. Ain't nobody going to hire someone without hearing them. So you got to be in early so that you'll be heard. This job, man, look at this. Great budget, probably really good ad. Maybe it'll be perfect for us. But there are 75 people who have already responded to it. Do we really think that they're going to listen to 75 and think, maybe one more? Oh, Jimmy at 76. This is the one. How likely is that really? Sectigo is pronounced like amigo. Sectigo. I'm wondering if this is... Doesn't matter. We're not going to get our hopes up about that job because we're not even going to get heard, so we're going to pass on it. Likewise here, 53 people in line ahead of us, and we're only a 90% voice match because of instructor. We're seeing this so much now. All right, that settles it. Today, off stream, but this evening, we're going to, we actually do have new demos to upload, so part of that whole process will be tagging some of our demos with the instructor rule so that we stop seeing 90% on some of our voice matches so that the algorithm likes us more and so that people get to hear us more. What have we got here? Vocation. Vocation is, wait, what do we got here? 30-second left-leaning political ad. Oh my God, did you write this for me? What do we got here? Colorado Board of Education race. We're going to read this cold. How close should a gas well be to a school? This candidate, okay, this is a negative. How close should a gas well be to a school? This candidate allowed a school to be built just 500 feet from where the company responsible. That's okay. Maybe we like the first. Should a gas well be to a school? Now we've got loud trucks driving by. I want to be fast on this because we saw this before the email went out. So, like, we are really fast on this. Should a gas well be to a school? This candidate allowed a school to be built just 500 feet from where the company responsible for the Deepwater Horizon disaster can drill 4 fracking wells. That's a hell of a sentence. We're going to give this whole thing another read. Can drill 4 fracking wells. How close should a gas well be to a school? This candidate allowed a school to be built just 500 feet from where the company responsible for the Deepwater Horizon disaster can drill 4 fracking wells. Let's see here. We're going to take the second read and we're going to start to chop things together here. Boom, boom, boom. Politicals they're always like this. They're so fast. Every single word counts. To be built just 500 feet. Deepwater Horizon built just 500 feet where the company responsible from where? Okay, that's where that is. So, oops, let's see here. It's probably right here. 500 feet from where the company responsible for the Deepwater Horizon disaster can drill 4 fracking wells. Let's read this part better. For the Deepwater Horizon disaster can drill 4 fracking wells. Let's do that. Let's fix this chop here and submit it. The Deepwater Horizon disaster can drill 4 fracking wells. Let's make sure that our pause here is right. To a school. This can. Ooh, it needs to be way shorter. I'll be to a school. This candidate allowed. There we go. Turn our D-click on. Here we go. Gas well political. On this stream, I will never like explicitly like talk like politics in a way that I'm endorsing one thing or another. But to be clear about where I stand, this does describe me pretty well, left-leaning. And when you're doing politicals, again, the point of this stream is to talk about this business. And if you're going to get into doing politicals, you need to pick a side. There was a time, 30 or however many years ago, we're going to actually just submit it just like that, just to be quick. Already 3 responses got in. That's how fast you got to be. So we were, as fast as we were, seeing it before this email came in, we were still number 4. To continue my point there, 30 or so years ago, you could get away with doing political ads on both sides of the aisle. You could do left and right, and that was fine. Nowadays, you cannot do that. You absolutely have to pick a side and stick with it, and that'll be how you build your career if doing political reads is something that you're interested in. I am interested in that, and I have chosen based on where my heart lies, and so that's what I read. If I see things contrary to that show up in the feed, I'm not going to disparage it or talk shit or anything like that. If that's what you subscribe to, then by all means, you go and audition for that. But for things that do align with me personally, that's what I'm going to audition for, and that's what we're going to do on this live stream. If you can't look past that and just appreciate the craft that we're practicing here on this stream, then you're welcome to go find someone else who's doing this. I think I'm the only person doing this, so maybe we just suffer through it together, huh? All right, let's refresh Voice123. So we've finished everything that's on voices.com, but you've heard and you've seen the little bug up here I've got a plugin in Chrome that lets us see when we get a new email in. I do use Gmail, and I think it's called the Gmail Checker plugin. Let's see what it is. Checker Plus for Gmail. I don't remember if I paid for this. It does say Checker Plus, so maybe I've been using this for probably close to 10 years. Maybe at some point I did pay for it, but it's worthwhile to me because, again, when an email comes into my Gmail account, I get an audible ding, and I get to see this big red badge up here, and I get to click that to see a preview of the email. So whatever else that I'm doing, I know that an email comes in, and I can preview it really quick to see if it's a voices.com job. Voices, again, is where you need to be fast. Voice123, it's less important to be fast because of the way the algorithms work on the back end as well as on the front end, which means like as it pushes out to talent, it works quite differently. So, with all that said, as we look at our Voice123 auditions, if we get an email that is a voices.com job, we're going to see if we're interested in that particular job. And if we are, we're going to drop everything and we're going to do that voices.com job. So, Voice123. First thing we have to do here, though, and this is at the request of our friends at Voice123, I need to look at each one of these jobs. I need to jump into these and make sure that none of these clients have their first and last name visible in the client information section, just to make sure no one's doxing anybody here. Clients have the option to have their name show up as just like client number, blah, 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 instead of showing their first and last name. And it looks like every one of these clients has done that. So the first thing that we like to do is eliminate the jobs that we know we're not going to do. That just makes life easier. So let's zoom in a little bit here so you can see what I'm about to do. Maybe zoom in a little less. Here we go. So there are two numbers here, 65 out of 50 right here. The second number is how many proposals that this client has requested to receive for their job. And I'm pretty sure they pay like by the number. So this client has requested 50, this client has requested 25, and again, I think they pay for it. Would love to get a correction from our friends at Voice123 if you're watching. So the second number is how many they have requested. The first number is how many they've received. So this client has requested 50, and they've already received 65. And I believe how it works is once they hit, so they requested 50. Once they hit 50, if they want to listen to audition number 51, I think they have to pay extra. Now, how likely do we think it is that they're going to look at the 50 that they received and go like, oh, you know what? None of these are quite right. Let's take a gamble, spend more money, and listen to number 51 and beyond. Do we really think that's going to happen? Or do we think they're going to go, okay, let's find something in these 50. We've already paid for them. Let's find one that's going to be good enough or we think we can coach into being the right voice. I think the latter is more likely. So we save our own time by skipping any job that is over the requested amount of proposals. So that means this one's 30 out of 25, so that means we're skipping that. This one's 74 out of 50. We're going to skip that. And you can see why some of those jobs had a lot of people auditioning because they had great budgets. Everything else, nothing's over. But I do know I'm almost certainly going to pass on this job, and that is because of this right here, looking for a quote. I've gone on many a rant on this channel about the looking for a quote thing, but basically the way that the algorithm works on Voice123 is I, as the talent, my job on Voice123 is to only submit auditions for jobs that I truly am well suited to. So if someone posts a job where they're looking for someone with a high-pitched voice or something like that, obviously that's not me. This one says deep male voice, so I'd be more likely to be, maybe I'm a good fit for this. Deep male voice. Sure, that's us. So I would be doing my job as talent by being choosy and selecting this job to submit an audition for. And the way that sort of works out is basically, if you get hired, that's good in the algorithm, obviously. And if you get a like from a client. Now, likes are how most clients shortlist. So if they get 50 auditions, they'll go through, listen to them all, and if one is like, hey, we're going to shortlist that, they hit a like, so maybe they'll like 5 to 10 auditions, and then they'll hire the one that they end up going with. So if you submit for something and you don't get hired and you don't get a like, Voice123 takes that information and goes, well, clearly you weren't right for it, or you, for whatever reason, the client didn't like what you did, and so we're going to ding you in the algorithm. You're going to get pushed down a little bit. And it can take a little bit of time for all of those dings to add up, but you will find yourself dropping in the algorithm, and that is bad, bad, bad news. You do not want that to start to happen. So you have to be really, really careful what you audition for, and truly only audition for things where you can confidently say, if this client hears me, they're going to like what they hear, and maybe they'll hire me, but they're for sure going to like what they hear. So that's our job. Now we bring in this other wild card factor, and that is looking for a quote. If I'm the right actor, I'm the right voice, but I quote too high or too low, I might not get a like or be hired. The high end, that's the easier. If I look at this job and I go, sure, that's worth $1,000, and I quote $1,000, maybe this client has a budget of $200 in their head, and they look at my quote and go, whoa, that's so far out, like I can't even negotiate my way, like they're not even going to consider me. And so even though I might be the perfect voice, they go, well, we can't afford him, and his quote is so high that we're not even going to try negotiating. So I don't get hired, and I don't even get a like, even though I'm a perfect voice for it. So that's the danger there. I get dinged in the algorithm because I quoted too high. What about too low? What does that mean? Maybe this client has in their brain a budget of $1,000, and I come in and quote $200. They might look at that quote and go like, oh, this person doesn't know what the fair market rate for this job is, so clearly they're not a professional. We only want to work with professionals, so we're not going to consider this talent, even though they sound great, but working with them might end up being a mess because they're clearly not a professional. They're not going to know how to send us an invoice or do all these other things that we might need. Typically, you don't need to do all that stuff because it's kind of taken care of. That's the benefit of using the platforms. But who knows? They might just have been burned by working with unprofessional voice talent in the past, and just based on your quote, they might view you as unprofessional. So suddenly, we get dinged in the algorithm because we quoted too low. So the real problem at the end of the day, is that we have no idea what number might be in this client's head. I really, 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 really wish that Voice123 would force clients into at least giving us a ballpark. Give us a ballpark. I have no idea what you want for this. If this is like a union job, where they're paying out P&R for SAG-AFTRA and all this kind of stuff, like that's going to be one rate. If this is just like a mom and pop thing and it's just for like a personal project or whatever, that's a totally different budget. I have no idea. And they haven't given me enough information to have a good guess. So this is looking for a quote. All this does is let me know that I need to bypass, like that I need to say no, because the danger of me getting dinged in the algorithm by quoting wrong is so high that I can't do it. And so I'll put other, and I like to put notes like looking for a quote is less than useless for talent. Please force clients to give a ballpark range. Now, they can put a budget and then have the option to tick the negotiable box. So like, it's there. Like, we have the power. Like, it's there. And I think that they need to absolutely get rid of the option to say looking for a quote, and they need to force clients to like just put a number and allow talent to tick the negotiable box. That would solve everything. But as it is, we've got this horrible situation where we've got looking for a quote that helps nobody. I'd love to see what kind of quotes the client gets. I'd love to see the range, and I'd love to see their reactions when they see the range, because maybe they've got some talent who are quoting fair market rates, which I would guess are way higher than what clients like that are willing to pay. So why do that? Why are we going through this whole rigmarole of requesting quotes when you have a number in mind? You have a number that if you see it, you'll be happy to pay it. So just put that number. Why are we dancing around? It's so stupid. Okay. Singer for 80s American style cartoon theme. I feel like we saw this a ways back. Maybe it's been reposted. Maybe we saw it on a different website and now we're singing it again. The singing, we get it. And I have done singing auditions in the past, but this is a case where I'm probably going to pass, just because the amount of effort required to put together a singing audition, it's not really well suited for the live stream. First of all, there's a lot of like crazy stuff that has to happen in Pro Tools, but we're not going to decline it just yet. We're going to leave that and maybe we'll come back to it. We have 2 audiobooks to look at here. Let's see. Now, first of all, hey, this is a bigger budget. Just off the top of the game here, $9.40. Before you get dollar signs in your eyes, we need to pull up the calculator to see if that $9.40 is a fair market rate for an audiobook. And when I say fair market rate, there actually is a number out there. The GVAA rate guide. If you just Google that, GVAA rate guide, it's got fair market rates for all kinds of voiceover work. Commercial stuff, e-learning, on-camera stuff I think they've got, dubbing, ADR, phone stuff, podcasting I think is on there now, and audiobooks are a category. And the GVAA rate guide, it depends on, there are a lot of factors, like are you delivering raw audio, are you are there session fees involved, stuff like that. But the rate that I have come to, the fair market rate that works for me, what the market has deemed my audiobook narration service to be worth, is about $250 per finished hour. And that is what a lot of other professionals out there that I see in the Facebook groups and so on, $250 per finished hour is that is the fair market rate for quality, professional, truly professional audiobook narration services. But let's see what this client is hoping for with this budget. First, let's see here. We've got recording length, 75,000 words, 75000, and we see that that's about an 8-hour project. Budget, $940. Boy, doesn't that sound like a lot? Well, the rate comes out to $117 per finished hour. And again, if we do our calculations, if you're a newer audiobook narrator, and again, if you're considering a book at this rate, you're definitely newer. That's just, you are. There's nothing wrong with it. Everyone's going to start somewhere. But I really want you not to shame anybody for taking a job like this, but just so that you can factor it in for your own budgeting purposes and consider, do I really want to do this? Consider that using that average number of 8 hours of your time to produce one finished hour, you're going to be working on this for weeks, earning about $14.60 per hour. Is weeks worth of work worth $940 to you? Maybe it is. Maybe $14.60 an hour for your labor. Maybe that's good enough in where you live and what your family, your home situation is and everything. So maybe $117 per finished hour, maybe that is good enough and you can make that work. In that case, by all means, give this a shot. It ain't for me. 117, I need more than double that. There are certain cases where I'll come down from that $250 per finished hour. That is my standard quote to new authors and rights holders that I work with. But man, there's got to be compelling reason for me to come down from that at all. And that reason would have to be like, it's an exciting new publisher that I've never worked with. There's something just cool and interesting about the project. Maybe the author is a veteran and there's some kind of cool connection there. But just out of the blue, taking a job for less than half of my rate, ain't no way. Ain't going to happen. So not only we're going to decline, but we're going to put a note here. This job will pay newer narrators less than minimum wage. This belongs on Fiverr, Upwork, not Voice123. And, put that back in there, decline. Like, I don't want to throw shade or to call out this particular client, but they post jobs at this exact rate multiple times per week. In fact, I'm almost certain that the other job here is the same client. Yep, it's the same client. And let's put in the numbers, and I guarantee you the per finished hour rate is going to be either 116 or 117. And that's just because of rounding. I don't have the decimals showing. But if I rounded that, if I turned off the rounding, it would, I bet to the penny, be the exact same rate. Like, they know exactly what they're doing. They have found that they are able to sucker enough newer, inexperienced narrators into this rate that that they're able to keep booking these things and getting these books produced. And I'd love to know how satisfied their clients, i.e. their authors or rights holders, how satisfied those people are with the quality of narration that they receive from narrators who are fine with this rate. I'd really love to see that. But let's punch it in. Let's see if we're right here. Recording length 58,740, and the budget is $735. And would you look at that? Per finished hour rate, $116, just like we said. This is garbage. Really hate to see this. Like, if I could wave a magic wand, Voice123 would ban this client. Ban them. They're taking advantage of newer audiobook narrators. These 11 people that have submitted proposals, you're being taken advantage of by this client. Maybe I'll get a nasty email from Voice123. They've never been nasty, to be clear. They've never been nasty to me. They've been nothing but very friendly and helpful. But man, this client is taking advantage of these 11 narrators, wasting their time with this audition, and then if they get hired, wasting their time even worse. Producing an audiobook this long, even 6 hours of finished audio, that's, for a newer narrator, that's like 2 weeks of work, at least. 2 weeks of work for $700. That's miserable. No one can make a living like this. And Voice123, this isn't, Fiverr or Upwork where people are just doing this for a little extra cash on the side. This is one of the two premier pay-to-play websites. This is for professional voice actors, not for people just looking for a little extra spending cash so we can go to dinner on weekends. This is where people are trying to pay their bills. So I hate to see this. I hate to see these 11, voice talent out there who it's likely this is going to be their first audiobook. I would just guess. I would bet that this will be their first audiobook. And man, what a rude awakening they're going to have by taking this job. That's a real bummer. We're pausing on this one. I don't think we'll do this one, but maybe we'll come back and do it. And if I do, yeah, I'll put it on the stream, but I'm not super looking at it. Okay. So we've ranted and raved. Didn't end up doing an auditions on Voice123. I've found, by the way, Tuesdays are probably the biggest days for auditions. So this stream is probably most interesting to watch on Tuesdays, because while we're working, like, the emails are coming in, ding, 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 all kinds of stuff is going on. But let's look over at ACX, that is the Audiobook Creation Exchange. And I see we've got some new projects to look at. Now, let's go ahead and make this, we're going to make this full screen for just a moment, just so we can really take a look at what's going on here. Now, we've got our little filters button here, and we're going to turn on the gender filter, just so that we're not looking at a bunch of stuff that's meant for the ladies to read. Now, I recognize this title. We've seen it before. We've looked at it and decided not to audition for it. And everything below this is older, so we've seen all that stuff before. But these top three, I've never seen them before. So let's see if we want to audition for any of these. Now, first off, this one here. You're Not Black Enough, a biracial story. Obviously, I'm not the talent for this. So we're gonna ignore it and we're gonna move on. These other two, though, who knows? They might be right for us. We're gonna open them in new tabs. Let's look at this one here. A Gateway to Galdish, a portal fantasy adventure. The Lurin Chronicles Book 4. This is a long project, 13.8 hours. Looks like we've got some pretty extensive notes from the rights holder. The scene includes 3 characters. Eli Tal, the main protagonist, is an early 30-something man originally born in Washington State with a general American accent. All of that aligns pretty closely with us. In fact, I lived in Washington State when I was a wee lad. Wolf Weibert, slight authoritative man in his mid-40s with a military bearing about him. That aligns with us very well as well. His speech can be somewhat formal, coming from a high society background. Daralis, early 20s woman who speaks with some formality, is Wolf's daughter and Eli's close friend / ally. Keep in mind that they just finished a tense audience in which Eli met with his country's leaders, and it went quite well. These 3 know each other, and each has their own POV chapters in the series. So are they wanting multi-narrator? It doesn't look like it. So sometimes when they specifically call out POV chapters, sometimes they will want, maybe someone like me reading Eli and Wolf's chapters, and then I would have a narrating partner, a female, reading Dara's chapters. But they haven't specifically called it out, so we're going to assume this is a solo narration project, because that is by far the most common format that you'll see. Okay, so all that's good. Let's see here. Okay, interesting. Keep in mind that this story takes place in another world, so what Eli is actually hearing are translated words through those sophisticated enough to almost completely remove any accents. Interesting. I've described this in the story as sounding slightly stilted / formal, but since we're now in the 4th book, it's barely there at this point in the story. Interesting. Okay. Now, you can get some more information about the book by going over to the About This title, and then you can look at the title on Amazon. If it will definitely be there. Maybe it'll be for sale already, maybe not, but it will for sure have a page, and it'll say like you can pre-order or you can save it or whatever. But the reason I have a bit of pause about this is right here. Book 4. What's going on here? Why are you posting an audition for Book 4 on ACX? What happened to your narrator for Books 1, 2, and 3? Are they not available anymore? Did you have a disagreement? Did that narrator not like working with you? Like, is there some kind of drama? What's going on? So what we'll do is we'll look at the series, and we're going to open up in new tabs Book 1, 2, and 3. And this might seem crazy that I'm doing all of this sort of snooping and sleuthing around, but like, you are potentially committing to weeks of work. Like, you're building a relationship with this client. You need to make sure that you know everything you need to know. So this looks like it's not on Audible. What are the other? See all formats and editions. There is no Audible format for Book 1. Book 2, same thing. Book 3. Book 3 is on Audible. This is very strange. So maybe, I had my suspicions here.
This title is narrated with virtual voice. Computer-generated narration for audiobooks. Fate's Tempest. by John Quinnan.
Okay. I have no idea what's going on with book 1 and 2, why there isn't an audiobook. It could be that they have an audiobook produced for 1 and 2, but they perhaps didn't want the restrictions that come with the Audible platform. Maybe they're, because you, as a rights holder, an author, you're giving up a lot of your royalties. You're giving a good share of your money away to Audible when your audiobooks are on the platform. So maybe they're going with, I think it's Findaway or like Audiobooks Unleashed. There are different platforms out there that give a bigger share of each sale to the author/rights holder. So maybe that's what they did for books 1 and 2. We don't know. We're not going to do that much research. Before we signed a deal with this author, we would want answers to those questions. Like, hey, clearly you did virtual voice for book 3 and you weren't happy with it. We're starting to see that more and more. But what's up with books 1 and 2? Are you at some point going to want to go back to those and have those produced? And maybe we'll get even more work out of it. So maybe that's a really good thing for us. We don't know. So, well, actually, what if we click this? Yeah, not available on audiobook, books 1 and 2. And then obviously, yeah, virtual voice for that one. Okay. So we've got a story in our head about what's going on with this author, and why they're posting it. And if you put together a story and it makes no sense, that should raise some flags in your brain about why is Stephen King on ACX looking to do a royalty share? Like, oh wow, I'm gonna make millions. That should raise some red flags. Obviously, Stephen King is not going to be posting his latest book or an old book for royalty share on ACX. That's an obvious scam, but you need to be aware of the less obvious scams. And if you get any little alarm bells in your head, do a little bit more research, and then it costs you nothing to just pass. Doing an audition, that's time consuming. It can take you a while to put together an audition. Let's look more about this title before we open up the script and take a look at it. Eli continues his adventures in the world of Laura, facing new challenges as the Remnant's forces gather, a fresh invasion plainly on their minds. To make matters worse, the Association is beginning to step out from the shadows, revealing their horrifying intentions. A Gateway to Galdish is the 4th book in a new series focused on the sequestered world of Laura, and so on and so forth. Okay, this all looks good. We can see we've got 30 ratings, which it's kind of low, but you can't tell too much about the number of ratings. But seeing a 4.8, that's actually really, really good. So we're pretty happy to see that. So let's look at the audition script. We might actually do this one. Though, I have to say, I am chock-a-block full of audiobook right now. We've got a really cool announcement that I'll be making sometime soon, but I'll be working with a very, very exciting client in the coming weeks here on an audiobook, and I'm just over the moon, super, super excited. It's going to be it's a big effing deal. It feels really, really good to have that happen. I've been narrating audiobooks for three, maybe going on 4 years. And to finally have this big step up happen, it's feeling good. We're happy. This is a pretty short excerpt here, which we like to see. We are going to do a little bit of formatting here to make it a little bit more readable, not just for you, the stream viewer, but for me. So we're going to bring it up to 16 font, and we're going to increase the line spacing here, and that's in paragraph. Line spacing, let's make it double. Okay. There we go. Look at all this room for activities. That feels good. So let's do this. I mean, we're doing auditions. That's the whole point of this stream, right? I don't want to be false advertising. Let's do this. Okay, we got a couple words here through ACE. We got to decide how we're going to. So obviously for proper nouns and things like that, if they're real words, then you got to do your research. You got to bring up a Chrome tab and do some Googling to figure out how to pronounce stuff. But if it's made up words like this one, then you can kind of make it up. Now, if you book the job, the author, rights holder, will likely have some input like, hey, this is pronounced this way or whatever. And that's a conversation that you'll have once you get booked. But for right now, for the audition, we're getting to make this up. So let's see here. E-zone, maybe is what I'll say. E-zone. I'm not going to say Isani, Easani. Like, maybe he wants like super Greek pronunciation of things. But right now, E-zone is good enough. Diadar Arik. Diadar, sure. Arik. I don't know. Signals. Okay. So we've got a few funny words that we're going to have to decide how to pronounce. I heard my little email ding. Let's make sure it's not a voices.com. It's not a voices.com. So let's go ahead. We're going to make this smaller here right now, and we're going to do this audition. All right, here we go. We're not going to read the chapter 22. We're just going to go right into it. After Eli's audience was over, he and Dara followed Wolf downstairs through the E-zone suite. What am I saying again? E-zone. He and Dara followed Wolf downstairs through the E-zone suite and into the same office from earlier. The door had barely shut when Dara turned on Eli, nearly tackling him with an enthusiastic... Let's do right here. Suite and into the same office from earlier. The door had barely shut when Dara turned on Eli, nearly tackling him with an enthusiastic hug. He could only laugh somewhat breathlessly as she squeezed, her giggles soon joining in as some of his tension. Let's see here. Tackling him with an enthusiastic hug. He could only laugh somewhat breathlessly as she squeezed, her giggles soon laugh somewhat breathlessly as she squeezed. Her giggles soon laughed somewhat breathlessly as she squeezed, her giggles soon joining in as some of his tension from the last couple of hours relaxed away. Dara finally let go, stepping back and looking up at Eli with a beaming smile. "You did so well." "Indeed," Wolf happily agreed from the other end of the office, already pouring them some drinks. "You can both sit down and get comfortable. Corliss will likely be a few more minutes." I would imagine... Oh, back to Dara. Here we go. Let's reread that last line. "You can both sit down and get comfortable. Corliss will likely be a few more minutes." I would imagine so, Dara smirked, walking over and sitting down on the who? On the who? Corliss will likely be a few more minutes. I would imagine so, Dara smirked, walking over and sitting down on the couch. Diadar Arik, public... trying to understand briefly here what exactly is happening. This is all good stuff. We saw in the description that this is all good. So this is important, but we don't know why quite yet. This is the danger and the fun of doing cold reads here. Walking over and sitting down on the couch. Diadar Arik publicly shaking... Walking over and sitting down on the couch. Diadar Arik publicly shaking Eli's hand and acknowledging our family's friendship with him caused quite the stir. Eli snorted, settling into one of the big chairs. Arik snorted, settling into one of the big chairs. Arik certainly surprised me. I know we've been hinting around. Arik certainly surprised me. I know we've been hinting around about formalizing... Okay. Arik certainly surprised me. I know we've been hinting around about formalizing things, but I've figured... Let's read the whole thing. Arik certainly surprised me. I know we've been hinting around about formalizing things, but I'd figured. Okay. Arik certainly surprised me. I know we've been hinting around about formalizing things, but I'd figured he would wait until after the dust had settled before doing anything. Wolf is talking here. Okay. The dust had settled before doing anything. I wager your performance before the Pantheon proved you were worth the potential exposure, Wolf remarked, coming back carrying a tray with 4 silvery cups. As the guest, Eli picked first, and then Dara. Wolf Eli picked first, and then Dara. Wolf put another drink down on the low Eli table. Picked first, and then Dara. Eli
Croaking
picked
a bit.
first, and then Dara. Wolf put another. Eli picked first, and then Dara. Wolf put another drink down on the low. Put another drink down on the low table. Eli picked first, and then Dara. Wolf put another drink down on the low table in front of the chair across from Eli. That's like 3 or 4 prepositional phrases. Put another drink down on the low table. On the low table, that's one. In front of the chair, that's like a nested, so it's across from Eli before sitting on the couch beside Dara. There are 6 prepositional phrases in this sentence. Ooh, buddy. Eli picked first. That's not to say this is bad. That's not what I mean. It's just an interesting sentence construction, and as you do this job, you start noticing things like this. Eli picked first, and then Dara. Wolf put another drink down on the low table in front of the chair across from Eli before sitting on the couch beside Dara. Do not misunderstand me, Wolf continued. Before sitting on the couch beside Dara. Do not misunderstand me, Wolf continued, his tone growing more serious. My grandfather has already privately given you a... His tone growing more serious. My grandfather has already privately given you our support, and that is no small thing, but openly backing you puts our family's honor at stake. The older man's expression relaxed, and he gave Eli a slight nod. However, that risk is balanced by our belief in you, your honor. And he gave Eli a slight nod. However, that risk is balanced by our belief in you, your honor, and the... And he gave Eli a slight nod. However, that risk is balanced by our belief in you, your honor, and the acts you have already committed. So I would count that as a safe bet. Eli shrugged, feeling a bit uncomfortable. I'm just glad I didn't lose my temper in front of everyone. Those temple guys were really getting under my skin. Wolf nodded. That was likely Signiel's intent, and the man was clearly trying to bully you. Yet when you did not bend, break, or lash out, he seemed lost. Yeah, I kind of figured that was the case, Eli murmured and took a sip of his drink, enjoying its smooth... Eli murmured and took a sip of his drink, enjoying its smooth, smoky flavor. The pleasant heat settling in his stomach was also welcome, and he leaned back into his chair. I cannot remember ever seeing Signiel so out of sorts, Dara remarked, her smile revealing how she felt. Let's hear it. Let's read her line again. And let's zoom. Okay, here we go. And he leaned back into his chair. I cannot remember ever seeing Signiel so out of sorts, Dara remarked, her smile revealing how she felt about the matter. More than a few were openly whispering about whether he would break the council table with his pounding. Wolf chuckled, pointing at his ear. I heard 2 murmuring their wagers on that very... Wolf chuckled, pointing at his ear. I heard 2 Wolf chuckled, pointing at his ear. I heard 2 murmuring their wagers on that very possibility. Do you think they examined their wagers on that very possibility? Do you think they examined the table after everyone left? Their wagers on that very possibility. Do you think they examined the table after everyone left? Dara asked, giggling. Wolf shook his head, only to look off toward the door before rising from the couch. There we go. All right, now we edit. And again, because we're doing punch and roll, this edit is going to be so fast. How many? So this is 3 minutes, 9 seconds. Perfect. Like this rights holder, this author, maybe they are the same person, but maybe not. This rights holder, anyway, they know the drill. For audiobooks, the standard audition length is 3 to 5 minutes. And they came in at the low end of that number, which is appreciated. But you definitely don't want to be going over 5 minutes. You don't want to be giving people a 15-minute audition script. That's not a good use of anyone's time. not for the rights holder, and certainly not for the talent. And if you, as talent, if you see an audition that you're really interested in doing, but the script is super, super long, you are absolutely fine to cut it short. Read 5 minutes of it. Find a logical ending point. Find a down point in the story, or like just a logical pausing place in the scene. You don't want to stop like mid-sentence, like, oh, we're at 5 minutes, I'm just going to stop in the middle. Don't do that. But do stop between 3 and 5 minutes, because your time is valuable, and you can't spend it all reading endless auditions. So there it is. That's how quick our edit is. We're going to bounce this out. What is this called again? Gateway to Galdish. Gateway to Galdish. There we go. And one thing that we're going to do here, I'm going to briefly come off of full screen on this, because I'm going to open up some of my past auditions, and I don't want to be putting everything out there. There might be some author info here that I don't want to reveal. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for the little personalized message that you can include to an author as you respond here. So where am I here? Here we are. Let's come back. Okay, so I'm going to start the upload, and then so this is the, I've just copy and pasted my response to the last audition that I submitted, and now I'm going to tweak things if we need. Really enjoyed this. I'm a military veteran. I love when military characters and scenes are written authentically, and this has that feel. Would love to read more. This is actually word for word. I'm happy with this. Actually, nope. Sorry to hear about your past narrator troubles. We're going to delete all of that. That's it. And that's simple. We're done. We have submitted our audition. If we want to, we can check and
After
listen.
Eli's audience was over,
Sure, sounds like our audition. Okay, so that's an audiobook audition done. Let's look at the next one, because remember, we opened up 2 tabs for the different audiobook auditions that we were looking at. Now, here's the big list. Here's the audition that we just did. Here's the tabs related to that audition. Here's the thing that I just opened. And now here is the other audition that we're going to consider. Now let's do some sleuthing, just as we did. Okay, now we've got the same concern with the last book we've got with this book. Book 9. What happened to the narrator for books 1 through 8? What's going on there? So we're going to have to figure that out. But first, let's look at some other aspects of this book and see if this is indeed something we want to do. I didn't mention it because it didn't jump out at me. It's one of those things that, like, bad stuff jumps out, but good stuff is like, it just sort of like, you don't notice it. And what I'm talking about there is this. The cover art. This is great. Looks great. Like, clearly some design work. Like, maybe this is an AI image or a composite of AI and human art. We don't know. But whatever, it looks great. And that is, you do judge a book by its cover. And you should be doing that because other people are doing that. You want you want to be involved with books with good covers, with good art. That's pretty straightforward. Let's see here. Let's first take a look and see if we're a good fit for this project. Because if we're not a good fit, then there's no reason to do all this sleuthing about. Primary voices. Captain Galvin Quinto's voice is the primary protagonist voice. Sonia is a snarky 17-year-old girl. Hardy, Chronobot Robot, has a blue-collar Boston accent. That's fun. Pristy is the on-again, off-again love interest. Shali, upper-class woman's voice. Stefan Dorota is the ship scientist, mild-mannered with an Indian Mumbai accented voice. All of this stuff. And it keeps saying, listen to Lee's sample. So maybe Lee is the old audiobook narrator. Like, let's see if we got more information here. Let's take a look here. This book is part of a popular sci-fi series, book 10, but here it says book 9. Maybe they're saying that there's 10 books, or maybe there's a book 0 or something, or some kind of interstitial book that's causing this to canonically be book 10. I don't know. I'm bringing this book to auditions because our narrator dropped out due to medical issues. Very sorry to hear that. Lee, whoever you are, I hope you feel better. Looking for a long-term relationship with the right talent. We are behind the 8 ball on this and need a super high quality and fast turnaround. Within June, 10 hours to be produced this month. This is a bummer. Like, oh man, and look at how many ratings. 556 ratings. Oh man. We have 16 completed narrated chapters that will need to be re-narrated, but will be a good example of what we're looking for with the various character voices. We are auditioning an adult male voice. Oh man. This is a bummer. Like, the need for this super, super quick turnaround is a bummer because, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I've got cool things going on in the audiobook world, and let me look at the calendar here. Please show me the calendar. Yeah, man, there ain't no way I can actually get this in by the end of the month. I'm finishing up my current audiobook project this week. I've got my very exciting audiobook project coming up the 2 full weeks following that. And then they haven't solidified anything with me, but I've likely got something to follow up directly. Like, I've got almost two months worth of audiobook work lined up. So there's just absolutely no way that I could meet this client's needs on the fast turnaround piece. But just because I'm just sort of interested, let's listen to this sample that they've got.
Chapter 3. All business, Shaw Lee pushed past me while talking into her tack band. Tu Quan Sport, Kugong. Tu Quan Sport, Kugong. I only had time for one word.
I mean, maybe that's raw, but there was like a pretty clear plosive popping a P into the microphone. Interesting. Something you need to be worried about when you take over a series from another narrator is that no matter what, I mean, this series clearly has a lot of fans, and no matter what, a lot of those fans are going to be upset with a new narrator. Like, clearly, like, if these people have already listened to 8 books in this series, suddenly hearing a different voice than they're used to hearing, and all the little differences that'll come with that. Like, oh, you did this accent a little bit differently, or oh, like you did a different, treatment for this or that character who I really loved, and I love the way the other narrator, all those other things. Not everybody's going to be happy. And so that's always a bummer. But when you start to look at super, super long series, like, things happen. And again, really sorry to hear that they're having issues with health for the prior narrator. I would be interested to hear, like, let's look at an actual sample. Let's look at the most recent one. Let's look at book 8. And let's hear the sample.
Halting before the transparent diamond glass partition, I gazed, utterly captive.
Okay, now I'm really confused. This narrator is John Perhala. I love John. I know John personally. I've never met him face to face, but we're Facebook friends. John Perhala is a mega pro. I'm so curious why they're not using John. Okay, now I'm going to have to check. Are they using a different narrator for every audiobook? Like, what's going on here? No, John for book 7. Now, I do know John stays busy. No, they got a different... So, John did 7 and 8. James... So, they've had, like, major, serious, like...
Again, Morrow announced, Breaches detected.
James Cronin, another person that I'm friendly with on Facebook, just major, like, real, I hesitate to use that, but like real narrators, but damn, these are real narrators, and I'm so curious why they're suddenly coming over to here. We don't even know who the narrator is. Very strange.
Grish, Bridge Commander, Dromp Gam.
That sounds like James Cronin again. Let's look at 4. Again, James Cronin.
Catching a ride back on a...
Like, I'm curious why they're not going back to either of those narrators, really. Let's look at the very first one. So, James Cronin, for whatever reason, became unavailable or whatever. Something happened. And then for, 7 and 8, John Perhala came along. And John is an excellent, excellent talent. And now I guess they hired a different narrator with a first or last name of Lee, who became unavailable partway through the project due to medical concerns. So again, I'm just so curious why they didn't get John again. Maybe he was John Perhala. Like I said, he stays busy, so maybe he was just unavailable. But why not go back to James Cronin? Because he's still about. So yeah, this is all very interesting. God, I'm wondering. So let's see here. I'm just wondering, like, is it at all possible that I can make it work? Like, let's look at this. The estimate says 10 hours, but like, how many words are we talking here? I hate this, that book length, 412 pages. That's useless information. What does that mean? How many words are on each page? Without that information, pages means nothing. Like, a children's book could have 50 pages, but if there's only 5 words per page, then that's going to be a really short audiobook. Whereas if this is printed like the Bible, then that's going to be a hell of a lot of words. So I hate that. Like, I wish in the drop down it would be like, oh, like, how many, what does that mean? How many words, man? Like, this is actually more useful. Like, file size is more useful than print length, because you could suss out, well, actually not knowing how, like, what the resolution of the cover art, and if there are any maps or other things, it's impossible to know. That's such a bummer. But at any rate, God, we'd love to do this. We really would, but 10 hours? Here they're saying 93,000 words. 10 hours in the month of June. Like, I already said the one at the end of the month, we haven't solidified that deal. So maybe I could talk to that rights holder and be like, hey, we need to push back because I've got this other thing, which is potentially this one. You know what? There's something long ago, before like grind set and all that, garbage was a thing. I heard from a smart person that I admire that just always say yes when it comes to work and stuff, and until you just can't, or until you're going to start disappointing people. But always say yes when it comes to new things, especially, and you'll figure it out. You'll find a way to make it work. This is, the kind of series, the kind of author, this is where I want to be. I want to be working with people who are doing stuff like this. I want to be narrating a series that James Cronin and John Perhala have been involved in. Like, what great company to be in. So I think I need to do this. How long is this sample going to be, though? Oh boy, this is way too long. We are not going to be doing all of this for the audition. Remember, 3 to 5 minutes for audiobooks. That's all you get. We are going to boost the size here to 16. And we can see that's already and that's not even double spaced yet. So compared to the last audition that I did, and hell, let's even put it into, I like Calibri. Calibri is a solid, readable font. And then we're going to do our double space. There we go. So our last audition that we did that came into about 3 minutes was like 3.5 pages. This thing is just onto the 15th page. So by my quick math, that means this thing's going to be well over 10 minutes. Ain't no way. We're not giving them that much. So what we'll do is we'll find a place probably around here. We'll find a place probably at the end of a paragraph where the story sort of dips. There's like a reason to take a pause and end the audition. And it's actually kind of nice to, like, just perfectly cold. Where's Klimbo? That sounds like a nice cliffhanger, potentially. Maybe this makes sense. We don't know who any of these people are. Let's see here. All business, Shaw Lee pushed past me. So this is first person while talking into her tack band. To Quansport Kugong. Okay. Where Shaw Lee, upper class woman. Okay. You know what? Actually, I need to check the email real quick. Maybe it's a Voices. No, it's not. Let's do this. That's what this stream is all about. So we're gonna do it. Let's see here. Duplicate. We're about at the end of what I can do in this Pro Tools project because Pro Tools limits you to 128 tracks, and we do every audition on a new track, and we're nearly at 128. But we're good for today. Let's turn you off. All right. We're going to do this audition, and this will probably be the last thing that we do on today's stream. We've got other work to do, so I'll probably take a big old break, and then if I do some audiobook work later, I might come back and do more streaming. But right now, we're going to do this. All business, Shaw Lee pushed past me while talking into her tack band. To Quansport, Kugong. I only had time. Let's read her line again. Past me. We don't know if to Quansport Kugong. Okay. She's requesting teleportation. Got it. Past me while talking into her tack band. To Quansport Kugong. I only had time for one word. Wait. The sensation of being a little less intense. I only had time for one word. Wait. The sensation of being quansported is a whirlwind of disconnection, a sudden flash of nausea, and a slight vertigo that engulfs one's senses. In that instant, one is acutely aware of one's body being segmented into oblivion, an abrupt and disconcerting feeling. The process is at its best when there's a moment to prepare, a chance to tighten stomach muscles, and mentally brace for the experience. Let's start here. At its best when there's a moment. Let's reread this whole sentence here. Abrupt and disconcerting feeling. The process is at its best when there's a moment to prepare, a chance to tighten stomach muscles and mentally brace for the experience. On the other hand, being taken by surprise, as I was at this moment, is akin... okay. I need to... And mentally brace for the experience. On the other hand, being taken by surprise, as I was at this moment, and mentally brace for the experience. On the other hand, being taken by surprise, as I was at this moment, is akin to a donkey kick to the stomach, leaving one both pissed off and profoundly unsettled. We materialized into a quansporter compartment. There were 13 adjacent pedestals. Materialized into a quansporter compartment. There were 13 adjacent pedestals to ours, and the compartment as a whole was large. Minimalist, utilitarian, and high-tech came to mind. Brushed metal bulkheads surrounded us, and there were 2 sets of quans controls. Typically, there is only one set. They were separated by 6 or 7 feet, both console towers sporting the same high-tech brushed metal appearance. Their control boards were high-gloss black with a dazzling array of color-coded touch controls and a myriad of mini 3D projected displays. As I took in the surroundings, there was that unmistakable new ship scent in the air. All that aside, my attention was not on my surroundings, but more on the others in the compartment. Stick figure-like Kugong with his but more on the others in the compartment. Stick figure-like Kugong with his oversized-looking helmet, amber cover. Okay, I get how this is going. Okay. But more on the others in the compartment. Stick figure-like Kugong with his oversized-looking helmet, amber-colored ambiogel slothing. But more on the others in the compartment. Stick figure-like Kugong with his oversized-looking helmet, amber-colored ambiogel sloshing. Kugong with his oversized-looking helmet, amber-colored ambiogel sloshing around within, was busy. He was in the process of quan-sporting in others. The compartment was bustling with activity. Familiar faces, many displaying the same level of irritation that I was feeling. Familiar faces. There we go. The compartment was bustling with activity. Familiar faces, many displaying the same level of irritation that I was feeling. If someone were to hazard a guess about where all these people had been just moments before, they might presume these people had been just moments before, they might presume a wedding These people had been just moments before, they might presume a wedding reception, or perhaps a formal ballroom gala. But I knew they, like me, had been readying for the Heroes of Saul ceremony, which was scheduled to commence in New York City any minute now. Gail Pristy, fuming mad, stomped a high-heeled foot down onto the metal deck. "What the hell are we doing here?" she spat, as if I had anything to do with it. Her reaction caught me. Crazy mouth noises that, as if I had anything to do with it. Her reaction caught me by surprise, and I had to stifle a laugh. She wore a strapless, shimmery emerald gown, tailored to perfection, enhancing her slim figure with an understated grace. Her fair complexion read that wrong. Emerald gown, tailored to perfection, enhancing her slim figure with an understated grace. Her fair complexion radiated natural beauty, with crystal blue eyes and soft, naturally rosy lips that needed little enhancement. Soft, naturally rosy lips that needed little enhancement. Her golden blonde hair, gently falling to her bare shoulders, caught the harsh lighting in a way that framed her face with a touch of brilliance. Even in this unexpected setting, she was the epitome of timeless elegance. Before I could answer her, Who's Hardy? Epitome of timeless elegance. Before I could answer her, Hardy suddenly quansported onto the nearest pedestal. The chronobot, like Pristy, was a breathtaking sight. To say his chrome facade was shiny would be like describing the Kohinoor. Like Pristy was a breathtaking sight. To say his chrome facade was shiny would be like describing like Pristy was a breathtaking sight. To say his chrome facade was shiny would be like describing like Pristy was a breathtaking sight. To say his chrome facade was shiny would be like describing the Kohinoor. Is that a real thing? We're gonna look this up real quick. I don't know. Is this a real thing? The Kohinoor? Okay, it is a real thing. One of the largest cut diamonds in the world. Persian for Mountain of Light. Cool little tip for everybody out there. This thing right here that you'll find often on Wikipedia. This is the IPA code for this word. We're going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to look at, actually I have it saved here, the IPA reader. This little gadget right here, if you have the IPA code, you can just copy it and paste it. And you can even leave in the messy, there's a comma, there's just a bunch of garbage in there, but that's okay because it can still parse it and give you
Koh-i-Noor.
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 Koh-i-Noor. Interesting. I would not have pronounced it that way. I would have said Noor, but this is saying Koh-i-Noor. So there's an extra little syllable in there. But you can also go to, there are a couple more websites. My first place to check is usually not the IPA reader, but my first place is usually forvo.com. And here I would say Koh-i-Noor. Is that what it is? Koh-i-Noor. Punjabi. So they've got an English pronunciation and they've got the Punjabi pronunciation. Let's hear the English first.
Koh-i-Noor diamond.
Let's hear the Punjabi.
Koh-i-Noor.
Koh-i-Noor. And I'm not getting that double syllable there.
Koh-i-Noor.
Koh-i-Noor diamond.
Koh-i-Noor. So I'm gonna kind of split the difference a little bit. The last place that I'll check before I start just going nuts with Googling is Youglish. Koh-i-Noor. So Youglish.
Number 1.
Youglish basically scours YouTube's closed captions. And that's what you're searching here. So, and you can see the closed captions here, and it puts the playhead of YouTube right there in the context here.
Koh-i-Noor curse.
Little dramatic, and then you can hit next to hear
My
the...
great-great-grandfather arrived in 1854 on the Koh-i-Noor.
I guess it's also a boat, a ship.
Prostitution and discrimination in India, the country they had chosen as their refuge. When Koh-i-Noor, who is one of these...
Okay. Koh-i-Noor. This is one of the, it's the audition. Like the rights holder is going to be understanding of you not nailing everything. You can set yourself apart by getting closer than your peers. But we're not going to agonize over the exact, syllable for syllable pronunciation. Koh-i-Noor is going to be close enough to being 100% accurate. And if they've got notes for us, to let us know. Mike Christie was a breathtaking sight. To say his chrome facade was shiny would be like describing the Koh-i-Noor diamond as having a nice glint to it. Hardy's armor was a mirror-like radiance that defied comparison. And that wasn't his only alteration. His typical black onyx-like faceplate was now a deep, subtly glowing blue. I had heard he had on a deep, subtly glowing blue. We're going to say that's fine. We're not going to agonize over little details. Deep, subtly glowing blue. I had heard he had undergone deep, subtly glowing blue. I had heard he had undergone a retrofit. Deep, subtly glowing blue. I had heard he had undergone a retrofit. Come on. Deep, subtly glowing blue. I had heard he had undergone a retrofit and upgrade. I was curious as to what had changed on the inside. More or different weaponry, perhaps. As if reading my mind, Hardy's faceplate suddenly came alive with an all-too-familiar facsimile, that of the middle-aged John Hardy, slightly pudgy, balding, and in need of a shave. Around the chronobot's neck were no less than 5 multicolored ribbons, each suspending a distinct honorary medal. He looked about his surroundings, perhaps. Now let's read real quick. What are the author's notes about Hardy? We can close our audiobook rate calculator, and we can look back here. Hardy is the Chronobot robot, has a blue-collar Boston accent. How do you like them apples? Okay. So we're not doing like a robot voice by any means. Suspending a distinct honorary medal. He looked about his surroundings. Perhaps he, too, had been taken totally off guard by suspending a distinct honorary medal. He looked about his surroundings. Perhaps he, too, had been taken totally off guard by being suddenly transported here. But instead of asking, by being suddenly transported here. But instead of asking, what are we doing here, his first words were, where's Klimbo? And then do we know about Kugong? Maybe I'll also read this. Where is... Oh, wait. We need to know about Kugong. All right, we need to close that. Go back to here. And do we have notes about Kugong? We don't. We just have a physical description that Kugong is a bit... it said like stick figure-like? So maybe this is a non-human character. Words were, where's Klimbo? Welcome aboard, Hardy. Words were, where's Klimbo? Welcome aboard, Hardy. Kugong's. Words were, where's Klimbo? My monitors are escaping containment. Something is, they're settling. Words were, where's Klimbo? Welcome aboard, Hardy, Kugong said. Klimbo has been transported into cargo... Welcome aboard, Hardy, Kugong said. Klimbo has been transported into Cargo Bay 5. This compartment has been transported into Cargo Bay 5. This compartment is for crew members only. And that's where we're going to stop it. We're at 4 minutes, 24 seconds. That is well long enough for the rights holder to decide if we are or are not the right narrator for this. Giving them the full 15 minutes or whatever this audition would end up being would not help. It would not help. So there's no reason to waste theirs, mine, and your time by reading out the whole audition. And frankly, like maybe that's what they expect. Hopefully that's what they expect. Hopefully they expect for professional narrators like ourselves. Hopefully they expect truly professional narrators to just give them that 3 to 5 minutes. So maybe that's part of a test. Maybe they're testing us, you know? So we're just running through this edit here. And then once we get this submitted, we're probably going to be done with the stream for today, at least for now, for this afternoon. We may come back this evening and do some more work, and that would be doing real audiobook work. We need to wrap up work on the book that's called Accidental Healer. We need to wrap that up this week so that we can begin work on our very exciting next audiobook project next week. Crazy mouth noises here. We'll delete one of those. Yeah, we absolutely must begin production on the next audiobook next Monday. So that means we got to get this audiobook that we're on right now out. Let's see, we're calling this... What is this one called? USS Washington. Cool. USS Washington. Washington. 6'8", weighs a fucking ton. Anybody remember that one? Okay. Oops. Okay. Now we're going to have to, once again, hold on, let's go back to here and do this so that we don't have the delay going on. So we're going to go, once again, we're going to take you off full screen so I can go back and copy paste my response from the previous. And we're going to put this into here. First, we're going to, all right, we're going to come back here. We are uploading our file. We're copy pasting, and then we're going to put a note here. I don't want to claim that I'm friends with. I don't want to like name drop people who might go, who? I'll say that I'm friendly with John. I know John Perhala. We've had more interactions than I've had with Cromwell or whoever the other narrator was. would be to pick up the torch from him. Let's see here. Really enjoyed this on military. Mostly in military sci-fi. I'd love to be involved, and I'm happy to answer questions you may have. Thanks. All right. Send it off. And there we go. All right. That is a slice of life of working as a professional voice actor. We had some good voice auditions, but most of the action today was in the audiobook world, and it seems to be that's what's going on. As far as more broadly what's going on in Jimmy's life is music stuff is going to be picking up more and more over the next coming weeks here. I'll be playing a lot of live music, and frankly, a very significant chunk of my annual income will come in the next couple of months in the form of these live music gigs. Just a really, really good gig that I was able to sort of stumble into a couple of years ago, and they keep wanting me back. But it does take up a lot of my time, and it does factor into my vocal stamina. So I don't want to be booking so much audiobook work that my voice is shredded and I can't sing in the evenings, and vice versa. I don't want to shred my voice singing to where I can't do audiobooks the next day. So that'll be a fun little balance, and maybe the stream gets shortened or something, because this is a lot of talking as well as I explain every little decision I'm making as I'm working. But I want to thank the folks out there for coming along and having fun doing some auditions with us. If you like what you see, please hit a like or subscribe, or follow me if you're watching on Twitch. If you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment. I do check and respond to all the comments that I get. I do also regularly-ish release like fully produced video content on YouTube. It's not just the live stuff that I do on YouTube. So keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. We've got some cool things in the pipeline. I just have to finish actually doing it. But man, things are moving and shaking, and we're feeling good. I hope that you're feeling good as well. My name is Jimmy Moreland of veteranaudio.com. If you'd like to hire me to talk for you, head over to veteranaudio.com, and all the contact information is there, as well as demos to where you can hear more and hear what I sound like in a fully produced spot. Thank you for stopping by. I would love to know how your auditions are going, or how your voiceover journey is going. So please let me know. And until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for stopping by. We love you. Cheers.